Welcome to my design blueprint, where I showcase the 4 different strategies that I think will create an awesome online learning experience. In the first strategy, I talk about non-academic skills assessment. And you'll see on the right-hand side that there's a depiction of blueprints, and it's actually a depiction of the foundation. So in this step, I think we're setting the foundation for student success early in the term. And we can do that through a general skills assessment or a course-specific skills assessment. And you'll see in this presentation that I offer a lot of flexibility and choice because instructors really value that. They value choice and autonomy, and academic freedom is really important. So I never provide a clear-cut, quote-unquote, perfect solution, but I do provide, 4 clear strategies and then different options within those strategies. So looking at a general skills assessment, I thought that this would be best suited either as an assessment in the LMS or as a RISE learning object that's situated in the LMS. And the reason that I like RISE is because you can use data from the SCORM package and really understand a whole host of information from the users, such as when they access it, how long they're in it, what they actually do inside of the SCORM object. So it's a great way to start nudging students to take action in the course. And I use the markup tool to create a wireframe for this general skills assessment. So in this assessment, students would be provided with about 5 to 8, maybe 10 Likert scale questions, where they answer questions about specific skills needed to succeed in an online environment, and they rate their confidence either high or to low with that skill. So if they answer high confidence, then they'd still get some sort of feedback, some prompts or tips to consider. If they answered medium, they'd be provided with additional resources, perhaps some curated apps that they can incorporate into their practice. And if they answered low, then they would still be provided with resources along with some additional supports that they might want to consider that they might not have even known about. And then they'll be provided with an overall summary or bird's eye view of their choices, which will be great later on when they can refer to it and potentially see how far they've come. With a course-specific skills assessment, I thought something like an infographic or related tool would be great. Essentially, it's a job aid. And what I love about job aids is that they lend themselves really well to the 5 moments of need, as you'll see on the right-hand side. And they're great for training or learning purposes as well as job aid purposes. So it's something that can be used in the learning context as well as for students to refresh and refer to continually as a job aid in the course and beyond. So here's an example of a course-specific skill assessment, and this is something that can be built into the general skill assessment or as a follow-up or be completely separate. The general skill assessment is really just a template that instructors can use, and they're free to use that within their courses, but I would encourage faculty to make adjustments as needed to suit their particular context. So one way of a course-specific skill assessment looking is the following. And I created this in Piktochart. So if critical thinking is an important skill in the course, then students are being introduced to that. They're starting to think about it in the context of psychology. They're asked to watch a short video, and then they're prompted with 10 strategies to consider of how to actually apply critical thinking in the course. And they're also told that they'll be graded on it. So they're cued that this is really important. And then the first step is shown about how to link theory to real life examples and some strategies that they'll need to think of early on. So again, there's lots of autonomy and lots of different flexibility that instructors can use to make these resources their own. But I like the idea of providing both a general skills assessment and a course-specific skills assessment because it totally depends on the course context and the users themselves for how the instructor wants to go about this. My second strategy is a curated learning path, and you'll see that this is depicted through walls. So now that we have the foundation down, we're starting to build the walls, we're starting to frame up the context for students and make this a bit more real for them. So what I like about the learning paths is that they can be created for departments or specific courses, and they can also be created by instructors or students themselves. So this would be a really great assignment or activity for students to do to create their own learning path and really think about the resources and the skills that they are going to need in the context of the course. But if it's an intro course, then it might be well suited for instructors to create this and have students navigate through, still with different choices, of course, because it's a path and it does provide flexibility, but just knowing that there are different options of going about this. So here's an example of a curated learning path. In this case, the student is embarking on their curated learning path. They expect it to be a seamless experience. They want it to be informative and curated and personal to their context. It's an opportunity for instructors to push specific resources, to contextualize these resources through discussion, activities in class, and for students to connect with their peers. So when they're first embarking on their learning path, they're starting to identify the type of support necessary that will suit their own learning preferences and needs. So they might think, I don't know much about this, I'm kind of struggling with it. And then when they're presented with the different ways that they might conceptualize the learning, then they can pick the most appropriate way that they're going to learn. And the resources will start to make more sense in their context, and they can decide between different choices. So this is where they might think, oh, this seems interesting. And then, I maybe know less than I thought I did. And then when the resources are available and they're processing the information, then that's when they start to synthesize and apply what they're learning to their own learning context with the help of the instructor. So this is where they start to reflect on their progress. I wonder if this is a good strategy for me. I'm struggling a little bit, which is totally normal. And then at the end, and this doesn't necessarily need to be at the end of the course, but as they are developing the skill, they can reflect on the strategies that they use. They can apply it to certain assignments, and they can think, I think I'm starting to get this. So this is an example of how students might broach their learning path. And let's look at an example on the following page. So again, I use this PictoChart example and in the context of the psychology course. And I identified the 3 most important skills in the course, which are academic writing, time management, and critical thinking. And so in this case, students are prompted to pick a resource from each skill area and then use the resources to answer the discussion prompts for the module. And this is a little bit different from the general skills assessment in that in the general skills assessment, students are, reflecting on the different skills, they're more internalizing it, they're raising awareness, whereas this learning path strategy is for them to start to develop their skills, to actualize them in the context of the course. And so what's great about this example is that, in this particular infographic, they're introduced to academic writing, and then they can pick the particular resources that are going to suit their learning preferences and needs, perhaps based on the general skills assessment. So they can decide to watch a short video, download a essay template. If they're feeling pretty confident and want to level up, then they can challenge themselves to find APA mistakes in a paper and share how they would fix those mistakes, and then relay those learnings to their peers in the course. So let's look at my third strategy. And now that we've built the foundation, the walls, things are kind of starting together. We're putting things in place in the different rooms, but faculty need support to do that. Just because the walls and the foundation are set up doesn't mean that they'll know all of the tools and strategies that they need to utilize in the online setting. And so this is a great opportunity to build professional development for instructors through workshops, articles, resources, things that we can nudge to instructors at particular times. And what's great about the university that I work at is that the marketing is fantastic. There's a weekly newsletter that goes out. We can drip content to instructors in the time that they need it, similar to students. So there's lots of great opportunities for professional development. And so some of the workshop examples that I thought of are how to read digital body language. So if they're going to be incorporating these resources in, then they need to know how to understand what student signals are, whether they're grasping the concepts using the resources. Another workshop idea is integrating a skill assessment into your online course, supporting non-academic skill development in your course. So again, this is teaching faculty when to incorporate those things and how to thread them into assignments. And again, it lends itself really well to the 5 moments of need, and not just for instructors, but for instructors recognizing those needs in students. So these are the topics that can be laced into each workshop depending on where students are at. So the first moment of need, learning something new for the first time, this is where we're going to push resources, some self-assessment, some discussion strategies for students to, start to get comfortable with these skills. Then they're going to gain more knowledge on what was learned. So then we need to prepare them for assignments, maybe have some general FAQs in class, have some icebreakers at the beginning of class where they can start to think about these skills, or even at the beginning of a live session, the first 5 minutes, to start to think about the different skills that are being utilized in the class and then incorporate that into the session topic. The third moment of need is applying knowledge on the job. So here's where students need clear connection between the skills that they're learning and their assignments, as well as scaffolded assignments. So rather than one huge project, breaking that down into smaller assignments throughout the term can really help students who are new to the topics and develop specific skills with each assignment where they're getting lots of practice and lots of feedback. Fourth moment of need is troubleshooting when something goes wrong. So not only providing feedback for students, but also debriefing it with students, even providing a summary to all students in the course. Working on smaller assignments, having those job aids be a part of regular course discussion. So not just like a one and done type of deal where these job aids are introduced at the beginning of course, but something that's threaded all the way through. And finally, the fifth moment of need, adjusting and adapting when faced with changes, great opportunity for self-reflection, incorporating that into final assignments or capstone projects where students reflect on the skills that they gleaned from the course and what they got, what they didn't get. Great opportunity for that. And my fourth strategy is to provide students with a centralized resource bank. And so you'll see here that we have the foundation walls, the instructor set up, and now the whole structure is coming together. But students need to be able to navigate that and know what they're looking for. So I thought that a great strategy would be to provide a more usable student channel where the content is more shareable and accessible to students. So as you'll see here on this screen, this is an example of the current video channel that students have access to. It's great. It's a great platform, but what you're looking at is that the first 3 channels are just for students, and then the following channels are just for instructors. And so we can never just share this whole channel with students. We have to pick specific videos and just share it with them. So it's not really that usable for them, and it's pretty overwhelming and hard to navigate. So one of the kind of frustrating things about working for post-secondary is that I don't have a lot of control over all of the different ways that students can access information and things like that, but this video channel is within e-learning. So this is something that we do have control over, and we can use user experience principles to better set up this channel and use words that students are looking for, keywords that they're looking for, and separate this out into a student and an instructor channel. And I think that would offer a huge win for students and be something that they can regularly access. And we can use the stats in the videos to gain information on when students are accessing it, for how long. And then we can close that feedback loop between creators and students by having feedback built in directly to these videos so that we're knowing if we're on the right track or not. So those are my 4 strategies, and I think that they will significantly improve the online learner experience. Thanks so much for watching.